Hey guys, this is Lee here. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever got yourself into irons? No, not that type of irons. That's not my business anyway. What I mean by irons is that when you sail your boat straight into the wind, but it doesn't want to sail anymore and it's heading right to the wind and the sail is flapping around, and that's called being in irons. And I'm going to show you in this video 3 ways to easily get yourself out of irons. Getting out of irons works for almost any boat, whether it be a Sunfish, a Laser, an Opti, a Flying Scot, or even a big boat with multiple sails. Before I show you how to get your boat out of irons, I just ask you to smash that like button and turn that thumb green or blue or confetti or whatever YouTube is having it do now. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so you can see more sailing videos like this one. I really appreciate it. So now let's get yourself out of irons and get sailing again. So when you're in irons, your boat is kind of facing into the no-go zone where your boat's not going anywhere, your sails are flapping all over the place, the boom is hitting you in the head, and it's just frustrating. No matter what you do, you're not sailing. You could push the tiller away from you, you could push the tiller towards you, but you're still not sailing. So the objective is to get out of irons and to get sailing again. My favorite way of getting a sailboat out of irons is that I take the boom with my hands and I push it all the way as far as I can away from me. If I'm sitting on one side of the boat, just say I'm sitting on the right side of the boat, that's the starboard side, I push it all the way to the port, and then the other side of the sail will actually start to fill. That's the port side of the sail. And at the same time, I'm also pushing the tiller on the same direction as I push the sail. So I'm taking, if I'm sitting on the right side, I'm taking my left hand, pushing the tiller, taking my other hand and pushing the boom, and that will rotate the boat. And eventually the boat will start to rotate and the sails will stay off the boat. Once the sails start going off the boat, then I straighten the tiller and I trim in the sail. I pull the tiller towards me a little bit to fall off, and I'll start sailing straight and go forward. So depending on the wind speed, this could take a few moments to very quickly. So when you push the sail to one side and you push the tiller on the same side, the bow of the boat will generally go into the direction of you pushing the tiller. And that's because the boat is slightly going backwards. If the wind is pretty heavy, it actually does this within a couple of seconds. The key to actually getting out of irons is to get the winds on the side of the boat, which rotating the boat will. And here's the key to going forward again, is when you trim that sail, you have to straighten out the tiller. And then when you straighten out the tiller, sometimes it helps to actually pull the tiller towards you, and that's called falling off or bearing away from the wind. That will help get the wind going and flowing over the sail, and once you start moving, you straighten out that tiller and go straight and sail away. So stay tuned and watch the whole video, and I'll go over the reasons why someone gets into irons, and then the most common errors people make that they can't get out of irons. Now, the second method of getting out of irons is kind of the same as the first method. So you push the sail away from you, but in this second method is that you pull the tiller towards you. And so you pull it all the way towards you. So what will happen there is the boat will bear off a little bit. Once the sail is off the boat again, you trim the sail, you straighten your tiller, maybe pull it towards you a little bit, get going straight, start sailing, and that's basically it. Now, the third method of getting out of irons is that you just use your tiller. Now, this works really well when the wind is moderate to heavy because your boat is just being pushed by the wind. So what happens if you don't touch the sail and you're in irons and your wind is pretty moderately heavy, you could just push the tiller all the way one side, and eventually your boat will start to back up a little bit, and then the bow of the boat will turn towards the direction of the tiller is pointing. So if I'm on the starboard side, if I push it all the way to port, then the bow will eventually turn to port. Once that sail is off your boat, again, you trim in your sail, you straighten your tiller, you pull it towards you a little bit to bear off, all at the same time, and then you're going straight again. And that is the third way of how to get out of irons. Now, when you're not pushing the sail and you're just letting the wind push your boat and you're using the tiller, you have to be a little bit more patient than when you're pushing the sail, because the sail gives the boat some momentum. And in the lighter winds, it takes actually a lot longer. Getting out of irons in heavier winds is a lot quicker to do. So if you're getting any value from this video, please don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. So now that you know 3 ways of how to get out of irons, I'm going to give you a bonus tip on how to get yourself out of irons. And this mainly has to do with a boat that has a jib or a genoa, which is the sail that's in the front on a 2-sailed boat. What you can do is when you're in irons, you could pull the jib or the genoa all the way to the most windward side. So if the sail is kind of like hanging out on the left side of the mast, then if you pull the sail to the right side, it's going to catch the wind. If you pull the jib all the way to the right side, all the way to the rail, it's really going to catch the wind. And when the jib catches wind, it's going to push it away from the wind. And then eventually that bow is going to move to the left if you're pulling it to the right side, and then you could let it go and then sail away once the sails get off the boat. Now, if you really want to get fancy, if you pull the jib all the way to the right, for instance, and then push the mainsail away on the opposite side, then you really get to rotate your boat. And this could be used in certain situations like match racing, where sometimes you want to be able to rotate out of irons to take advantage of the other boat's positioning. So sometimes that's what match racers do. So remember, in every situation, once your boat rotates away from the wind, you let the sails go onto that side, you straighten out your rudder, you straighten out your tiller, maybe even pull it towards you a little bit to bear away, and then trim the sails and sail off. Now I'm going to go over the reasons why someone may get into irons. The first reason why many people get into irons is that they sail and they're trying to tack, or they just sail into the no-go zone. The trick is you have to get through the no-go zone unless you want to stop the boat. So the solution to get through the no-go zone is 1, make sure you're going fast enough and you have momentum, and 2, try to keep your sails as close to close hauled as possible. It's harder to tack when you're on a broad reach or your sails away from your hull. So trim in your sails, get speed, then you can get through the no-go zone and not get yourself into irons. The second reason why you might get yourself into irons is that when you're tacking, you might straighten out your tiller or your wheel quicker before your bow gets onto the other side. So when you're tacking, you're kind of doing a half tack, you're straightening out the boat and it stops rotating, and then you get yourself into irons. So the solution for that is to make sure your boat is on the other side, your sails will be on the other side, and you cross the boat. Once the sails are on the other side, you know you've tacked enough. Now, in a boat specifically like a Sunfish, it helps, especially in heavy air. A lot of people, especially even intermediate to advanced sailors, when they get themselves into irons, it's because the winds might be up, they might be in the mid to upper teens or even in the 20s, and they go ahead and tack, and they don't realize that how much momentum you need to get through the no-go zone. So what I like to tell people who are especially beginning is when they get into irons, think about going through the tack and actually over-tacking. Now, when you over-tack, you over-rotate the boat, and when your sail is on the other side, it's actually the sail is further past close haul. It's actually more on a close reach. When the sail is a little bit away from the boat, it's on a close reach. You could start trimming in, gaining speed, and once you gain speed and then straighten out your tiller, then you could trim in the next 15 or 20% of the sail. That will head you up and you can go sailing. So think about over-tacking the boat and see if that helps. The third reason why you might get into irons is that after a capsize and when you right the boat generally wants to head into the wind, and you kind of want to be in irons when the boat is after a capsize. That gives you time to climb onto the boat, to get everything straightened out, to catch your breath, make sure everyone is safe, and make sure the lines are where you want them to be. They're not tangled up. So make sure safety is first. You check if everyone's safe, especially yourself, and then that's where you want to be in irons. And then after you get out of irons after a capsize, you can go sail and have fun. Now, the fourth reason why people get themselves into irons is that when they're getting themselves out of irons, trim in the sail, but here's the key, they don't bear off enough. They don't take the tiller and pull it towards themselves a little bit. They basically have the tiller actually not even straight. And when they trim the sail, they keep the tiller, if you look at the tiller itself or the joint, a little bit away from the center line. So actually what happens when you trim the sail and the tiller is away from you a bit, you're actually heading the boat into the wind again, and you're kind of tacking, but you have to remember, you went in the iron, so you don't have any momentum. You're trimming in the sail, so you're starting to go forward, but if the tiller is pushed away from you just even a little bit, you're going to head into the wind, and you're going to get yourself in the irons again. So remember, the solution to this is when you trim in your sail, make sure you're pulling your tiller a little bit towards you, across the center line of the boat towards you, and that will bear the boat off, let you go sailing, and off you are. So when you trim the sail towards you and you're pulling the tiller towards you, and then you're starting to go sailing, now when you're sailing straight, now you have to start straightening out the tiller. So if you keep turning, you actually might go into a jibe, especially an accidental jibe. So you should watch this video right here, because I break down what happens in an accidental jibe, and you could prevent it. I'll see you on the water.